The Last Rose of Warsaw. The Beauty in the Dust. The year was 1944. Warsaw was no longer a city of music and light. It was a graveyard of brick and ash. Amidst the skeletal remains of a grand apartment block lived an old woman named Alara, while others scrounged for scraps of bread or bits of coal. Alara's obsession was different. In a cracked porcelain pot on her balcony, she was growing a single deep red rose. To her neighbors in the cellar, she was a madwoman. "You can't eat petals, Alara," they would grumble as she used her meager ration of water to keep the soil damp. But Alara knew something they didn't. She knew that the war's greatest victory wasn't taking lives, it was taking hope. As long as that rose lived, the gray hadn't won. One afternoon, a heavy mortar strike hit the building next door. The shockwave shattered Alara's windows and sent her spinning to the floor. When the dust settled, her first thought wasn't her own safety. She crawled to the balcony. The pot had tipped over, and the rose now fully bloomed lay in the soot, its stem bent but not broken. A young soldier, part of a squad clearing the street, climbed up the ruins to check for survivors. He found Alara sitting in the dirt, tenderly splinting the rose's stem with a piece of wire and a popsicle stick. He raised his rifle, his face a mask of iron. But then the smell hit him. It wasn't the smell of cordite or rot. It was the sweet, intoxicating scent of a garden in June. The soldier lowered his gun. He looked at the old woman, her hands stained with earth, and then at the fragile red flower defying the wasteland. For a second, his eyes softened. He reached into his pack, pulled out a small canteen of fresh water, and set it silently beside the pot. He didn't say a word, but as he turned to leave, he brushed the soot off his sleeve, a small gesture of dignity in a world of filth. Alara and her rose survived the uprising. When the city was finally liberated, that rose was the only splash of color in a mile of gray. Alara took cuttings from that single plant and shared them with everyone who returned to rebuild. By the time she passed away years later, the neighborhood was filled with Alara's roses. She proved that you don't fight a war only with bullets. You fight it by refusing to let the beauty die. She showed the world that even if you are surrounded by rubble, as long as you have the courage to water a single seed, the spring will always find a way back home.